What are we doing?
Dude, I don't know.
You need a hug? All right, let's do it.
So I was doing some research,
It's like therapy for us. You're just easing into not having much time on your hands.
and I'm stoked for the journey. What's up, everybody? My name is Brian Boyd,
And I am the Zach Gittler.
and we are two dads on a mic.
That's right. That's right.
Today, we're going to be talking about communication through text, right? Last episode, we talked about communicating with your kids, asking them questions. How do you have those awkward conversations? Well, now it's strategy time, right? Now we're going to dive in and be like, well, this is what you can do, and we're going to talk about why it can be helpful.
Agree.
Yeah?
Agree.
Thanks for agreeing.
I agree.
How's everything going, buddy?
It's good, man.
Yeah.
Summer's good. It's super hot right now in California, but can't complain. We have air conditioning.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how people do it out here without. I don't know how any of you do it, because we're blessed, right? It's not usually this hot here. Like, we've been in the 90s, 100s. That's rare for where we live. Thank goodness I have air conditioning. I have coworkers that don't have any air conditioning.
I don't know what I'd do.
I couldn't do it.
I don't know what I'd
I
do.
sweat still and I have air conditioning.
Yeah.
But I'm a hot sleeper.
Yeah, me too.
Molly touches me in the night and she's like, get away from me. I don't want to touch you.
Crack
Make
an
me
egg on your
sweat."
back.
I think we should try that today. I think we should try to cook an egg on the ground.
I've always wanted to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
It would work. It's hot enough. I think it would work. So summer's kicking full swing. We're doing good. Family trips and all that good stuff. Anything else?
Nah, man, just same old stuff with us.
Work and
Play and buying house, and
the move's coming soon.
it's just crazy.
Nice.
It's just awesomeness.
I'm excited for the move. We're gonna have to shoot an episode at the new house.
Oh, for sure.
I think it'd be awesome.
I didn't even tell you on a side note. Guess who I ran into?
Who?
Flying Pig.
Oh,
We were at
Roddy and-
we were at Oceanside, and he came around the corner and he goes, "Two dads, I heard your voice around the corner."
dude, that's awesome.
So I told him, like, "Look, me and Brian were talking. We want to shoot an episode. Two dads and a beer." He's like, "Done,
Awesome.
done." For sure. So yeah,
Cool.
he's on board.
We'll get that hooked
Yeah.
up. Roddy, if you live in this area, we've talked about Flying Pig before. It's an amazing restaurant. Check them out on Instagram. The Flying Pig Pub and Kitchen. Awesome place. So before we get going into today's episode, we want to give a little shout out. This I'm wearing this shirt, as you can see, and it's Haze Tough. And what Haze Tough is, it's a organization that is focused on childhood cancer. We like to give shout outs to organizations and companies that we truly believe in. We're not sponsored by them or anything, but these are the important things that we know we have a platform to be able to share these types of things. So basically what their mission is they're dedicated to providing financial support and hope to families affected by childhood cancer. Check them out at hazetough.org. We absolutely love what they stand for and what they're doing. Tate28 at Tate28 on Instagram. That's Steve Tate. He's the co-founder of this organization. They had triplets, and one of their triplets had childhood cancer, and they lost him to childhood cancer, and so they started this organization called Haze Tough, and it's a fantastic organization. So we just wanted to give them a shout out. Please go and support them, and if you want to donate money, just know that the funds go to fighting childhood cancer.
Yes, and on that same note, I'm wearing my Cat DJ t-shirt, and it says, "DJ scratches, don't press pause." Okay. So, just on a lighter note.
I like your DJ scratch.
I don't usually wear these kind of t-shirts, but my sister and hubby bought it for me, and my cat's name was DJ.
Oh.
And I like that it says
DJ
don't,
Dad.
Don't
man.
press pause.
Hey, Rick.
So good, dude.
And then also one more little shout out. We got some dope koozies by one of our IG friends. If those of you that aren't like hip and know what the kids are saying these days, IG means Instagram, and it's from Dad Therapy. So thanks for the koozies. We appreciate it. Shout out and follow him.
Cheers to Dad Therapy.
Yeah, at Dad Therapy on Instagram. Good content, and just I love that we're connecting the worlds of dads.
It's awesome. Things are progressing.
Right? It just goes to what we're trying to do here.
People like our content.
I hope.
Yeah. It's not just me and you.
Yeah, we like it.
We love it.
Our wives like it because then they get away from us.
Yeah, right? It's a win-win.
So let's jump into it, man. So last episode, we talked about those awkward communication or topics that happen with your kids, right? We talked about The fact that I never had a conversation with my dad about a boner.
A roner, or what is it? A rone?
Renob.
Renob?
Yeah, the renob. Just being the adult that you should be and having those conversations with your kids, right? So we decided, let's dive a little deeper. Like, how do we do that? What do we do as parents or as dads to make sure that we're having those conversations with our kids? And wow, what we found was pretty awesome.
It was nuts. I mean, definitely opens my world of like what I want to do with Aria.
Yeah, and how to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And they say right now, with the world that we live in, the digital world, that your number one communication tool with your kids is going to be text message.
And I believe it. And I think everybody else can wrap their brain around that because, I mean, it's the world we live in. Text message or direct messaging or Facebook messaging, but it's going to be text because I think as Aria grows up, I don't think she'll have access because you can restrict what you want to in phones, but then as they get older, they can just hack into it. And my child will definitely know how to do that, but restrict it to just, communication that way. But it's, I don't know. I think I weigh on both ends of if it's good or bad. I mean, I guess what are your thoughts on texting with kids?
Well, I think I go back to just texting in general, right? For me, I used to have a problem with text because I would get so frustrated with Molly because she would always text me. Text me this, text me that, text me this. And I would just be like, just call me. But I think that what I've learned is that there's certain things that are perfectly fine through text. And then there's certain things that should be face-to-face communication. And I think that that's what we learned in looking up this research and figuring out like, okay, well, how do you text with your kids and what's appropriate to text with your kids and what's appropriate to kind of have those face-to-face conversations? What are your thoughts around the text messaging?
I think to start a conversation, it can be good because with kids, with adults, I always say this to Jess or excuse me, anybody, it's like everybody can read into a text and it can always come off of how you didn't mean it. It takes one word, it takes one emoji you put in that you didn't mean. So to start it off, I think it's a good icebreaker sometimes, because just like how back in the day when we were kids, whether it be someone calling the principal saying, look, your parents called, make sure you go home right after school, and I had a full day to go through, I had time to think about that. So a text message goes out like, look, I know you did this. We need to talk.
Yeah.
At least Aria will have like 4 hours to wrap her brain around what's about to happen and prepare or whatever it may be. I think that can be good. But to have a full-on like talk about certain situations, I don't think it's meant for that. But I mean, it speeds up the world of text messaging. I mean, of just productivity and get this. Hey, I forgot this at the store. Oh, go get. I mean, technology. I love technology. I love everything about it. So there's good and bad. It's just fine-tuning what's going to be used in the best way.
Yeah, and in our last episode, you talked about the story that you had, I think it was our last episode, where you went home. It was. You went home because you had gotten...
I got caught skipping school.
Yeah, and smoking weed.
Yeah.
And so, think about that. Like, imagine what it would have been like if you would have just gotten a text message from your mom or dad and said, hey, we know what's up. You need to be home after school. We got to talk about some stuff. Instead of you not going home, calling from a payphone, and then when you get home, it's like, get your ass down here now. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's definitely, it's good. I mean, it's going to be interesting how when Aria grows up with text messaging, and also when will she start? I wonder what age they start. Like it's going to get lesser and younger right now. I mean, like Aria is 3.5 and she can operate a phone.
Yeah,
like full on
operate it, unlock it, code it.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but we do it every day, so it has to be good because we do it and we're teaching. They just follow what we do every day.
Well, I think people will disagree with me on this, but I don't think it's bad at all. And the reason I don't think it's bad is because that's our reality. So why try to disengage them from the reality that they're going to live in? It's kind of like the parent that's like, I never let my kids eat chocolate. And then the kid grows up and that's all they want to eat is chocolate and sweets, right? Because they were disengaged from doing it when they were growing up, right? Or, I never let my kids watch TV, and then they grow up and that's all they want to do is like sit in front of the TV. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's okay to just completely say, I'm not going to do this until this age. Like, I don't know if I agree with that. It's like, I think you should definitely have boundaries, right? And that's okay, right? It's just like a curfew, right? You just because you have a curfew doesn't mean you don't let your kid go outside and play, but you let them go outside and play until a certain time.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think it comes back to every single category with a child as they grow. It's just education and it's repetitiveness of teaching your child what the correct, or not correct, but like the right path to take with whatever they're doing. So if that's text messaging, if that's, you know, social media time, if that's whatever it may be, as you said, it's the world we live in. It's not going away. It's only going to grow and get bigger.
Yeah.
So if you don't wrap your brain and get into that world and focus on how that's going to be happening, you're going to be set behind the times. And it's going to be super frustrating.
Yeah.
But if you get it behind it, it's going to only benefit everything because it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, and we reading through all this stuff and just kind of trying to see different points of views, came across this amazing article in the Wall Street Journal, and you know, it talks about screen time and when do you allow your kids to have screen time and when do you communicate with them through text messaging. And you know, one parent that they interviewed, who was a child psychologist, you know, she said when we get into their zone, we usually get a quicker response. Like, let's put ourselves into their zone. Let's not try to get our kids into our zone, because that's not who they are as individuals. They're not adults, right? They don't have as much experience in communication and things like that. So it's our job as parents to kind of jump into their zone and be smart and tricky for adapting and being innovative in how we communicate with our kids. So this parent gave the example of, you know, when it's time for dinner, I don't yell at the top of my lungs anymore, dinner time, right? She just goes, when I do that, I don't get a response. But when I send them a text message and says, hey, it's dinner time, she says within minutes, everyone's downstairs ready to rock and roll, because they're already on their phones. That's the world that they live in. And I think being a parent that way and being aware of that, instead of trying to fight it, you just go with it, is such an awesome thing.
Yeah, plus you don't have control when they're outside of the house, and they are a lot of times outside of the house with other friends that have phones, so you don't have a lot of control over the situation, because when they go and they're over on their friends and what's cool and all this stuff, so yeah, if you have to adapt. You have no choice. Yeah, I don't care what you think, in my eyes, what you think about texting and technology, you really don't have a choice unless you're going to homeschool your kid and they're not going to have any connection to the outside world. But that's not really going to happen, so you don't have a choice.
No, it's true.
So if your kid communicates through text and that you find that out one day with dinner and you're like, this is horrible, this is tough. You want to make your life harder? Like, just check it off and you just got to text your kid now.
Yep.
It's not a big deal.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, I think people will disagree with us. Some will agree, but I think some will disagree as well, that they might say, well, when you text, you're taking away the aspect of real communication, like in the real world, like at your job. You know, you don't text coworkers at your job, or you don't text da-da-da-da-da. And to my point, well, you send a lot of emails,
I was
right?
just going to say, email is, what's the difference?
Yeah. You send emails. I do text coworkers. Yeah. In fact, at the salon, we have a running thread of text communication of all the team members. And every single day there is something added to that text message group, whether it's our morning stand-up and it goes over what the objectives are for the day, or whether it's someone wants to share something that's within the industry, or just share a picture of Mac. You know, the girls are just like, send a picture of Mac. And we just send a picture of Mac in text message.
Well, you've adapted. And
right.
You've not only adapted, you're like, how can I utilize this to my advantage?
Right.
And that's what you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's just, sorry.
And so, talking about how you communicate then with your teenagers or your kids, right? And I think this really does focus more on the teenage spectrum than it would like Ari at 3 years old, right? Because number one, she can't even read yet. So maybe she can, I don't know. If she can, she's super smart. Can she read?
She has read all the Harry Potter trilogy.
Next on to the Lord of Rings.
She cannot, I don't think so. No, she can remember. Mm-hmm. I think she can read, she can, of course, but dude will read books and she's memorized full books.
That's awesome.
I'm like, how the?
Alphabet? Does she know the alphabet?
Yeah.
No, she can read. In my opinion, if your kids know the alphabet, that's the beginning of reading. They can read. But anyway, so face-to-face conversations with your teens, right? So last episode we talked about how awkward they can be, and that you just need to do it. But you can jumpstart that conversation by having a text message thread with your kid. And there's a great book out there. It's called The Big Disconnect. And it talks about a book on technology and family relationships. And one of the things that the author of the book says is that painful, awkward, tough conversations between parents and child are where children learn so much about the relational dynamics that are a part of the adulthood. And so you utilize that text message platform that they're already using to integrate those conversations. So another thing within that book is that they found that children told the author all the time that they've started really difficult conversations in text because it was the only way they could find courage to ask questions about those types of things. And the thing I love about text message is emojis. Sometimes people don't know how to express emotions, and that's the beautiful thing about an emoji is that you literally have how many little different smiley faces are there? And sometimes I use those, in fact, not sometimes, a lot of times I use those to express my emotions because I don't know how to put that shit into words.
True. Or it's like, and you're hacking your time. Instead of spending 5 seconds, 20 seconds typing out you just send an emoji or a bit emoji and you're like, done.
Yeah, and people get it. And that's the world we live in, is that people get emojis.
But then there's the downside too of you sent it, you thought it was gonna be, but it was the word used in the paragraph and then emoji, and you're like, that I see how you could have taken that.
Right.
So you just it's a good it's a good icebreaker to get into. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and emojis they add the nuances of emotion, and that teens can have trouble expressing. And I think what the important thing we need to focus on here is teens, because teens they do have problem expressing different emotions. Like I talked about in the last episode, I was awkward as shit in my teenage years. I was just nerd boy, right?
I think every kid is, and again, back to me DJing and being around a lot of the kid, 13-year-old world. I've paid so much attention. It's definitely gotten a lot better. I see a lot of families that I meet with for clients and meetings. I'm like, man, your kids are really outside as we're walking out saying thank you. I'm like, look, your kids are really good. Communication, and I always tell them look, that's what I want my kids to be. And they're just like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because sometimes they need that reassurance of thank you so much, but I really mean it too. And I'm like, then later on, as I keep in contact with clients, I will hit them up. Sometimes hey, what did you do in this situation? I'm curious.
When you hit them up, do you text them or do you call them?
Text. Yeah.
Right?
Because it's but then going back to how you can overuse it too. It can be just an in to talk to someone to start a conversation, but then it gets to a point where look, I should just call them, and also texting could take a lot longer to come across, whether just call them, it's just better. So that comes into your thing of you're taking away the face-to-face time or the voice-to-voice time kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
well, I think that is the perfect point, is that in text messaging, right, you have this time where text is appropriate, and then there's this time where it needs to be cut off. And instead of it being text message, it then needs to be face-to-face communication. I'm not going to sit there and type a paragraph or 2 or 3 to try to get my point across. No way, man.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
You know what I think the next step is going to be? The voice, or not the voice, but the video interaction. You know how on your text you can say like this? So let's say you're trying to get a point across, my feeling, my emotion. I think it's going to be me just hey Dad, or hey Mom, I need to talk to you about something, it's really important, and maybe it'll wrap our brains or the kids' brains of they'll see our facial expressions, that's the icebreaker, the going into the awkward conversation that needs to happen kind of thing. And also just in regards to, telling Jess I love you, instead of saying, hey Jess, I just want to say today I'm super proud of you, that is times 10 of an emoji.
Yeah.
So I bet, once storage space, because it just gets stored in your phone, I bet that's going to be the next step.
Well, think about Marco Polo.
True.
Do you use that app?
We started that. I don't use it.
Oh, it's great.
I know what it is because you got me on it and we were going back and forth a couple times. But I definitely but see, it's an app. If it's not interweaved into the main things we use, why do you think Facebook and all these people buy every single company? Because they put it in their platform.
Right.
But when it's a separate platform, we try them all. But Marco Polo, we tried. It's no, we don't. I haven't done it with you. But it's once Apple or someone messages, buys that or puts it into their platform or makes it easier or something, then it will skyrocket.
Well, it's funny. So we talk about the Marco Polo app, and the way I came across the Marco Polo app is my buddies were out here in September of last year because we were going to the Utah USC football game, and they were all using it. Like all of them. I had like 7 buddies out here, and every single one of them was using it. I'd never heard of it. And I was like, what is this? And they were like, it's the perfect way to communicate with our kids. Because our kids love doing the video, but when we try to FaceTime, like you were seeing with Dave and I earlier, like he's trying to FaceTime, but they want to see Mac, but Mac isn't available at that time, or they're not available when we're able. So we do the Marco Polo videos. And the cool thing is it saves it, and then you can go back when it's convenient for you, and then you can respond via video to a video, and I think it just makes it better.
Yeah, I can see how Marco Polo is a good thing because, like the FaceTime world, it hasn't been mastered yet because of the inconsistency of internet. They're like, oh, it's freezing. But once that is locked in, like once everybody has like giganet, internet, and there's no problem whatsoever, then FaceTime will change. Like Alexa's like the first people to get on like the Alexa voice calling thing. Or the video calling thing. It's going to be crazy, but I love where it's going. It's super exciting. And by the time our kids get older, there's going to be so many other options. Like, they're going to probably wear glasses, just like, oh, hey, Dad, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's going to be like Back to the Future style.
And for those parents or individuals out there that say, well, I'm not going to communicate through text message because it just removes the face-to-face interaction, well, then do Marco Polo.
Yeah.
Use Marco Polo or something like that as your text message platform and make it face-to-face.
But the ones that are saying that, they're the ones that just they won't adapt to the times.
Right.
They're just stuck in their ways. And I do believe that like if you don't adapt, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, and it is cool to finally see people adapt and come out of their shell. Like with my dad, right? He's 73 years old. So he'll be 74 this year. He's 73, and he just started text messaging. I'm talking, we finally got him an iPhone. That was like a year and a half ago, and then he just started text messaging maybe like 6 months ago, and now he will fully respond. Used to be we would text him and then he would call. Now he will respond via text message, and it makes it easy.
It's good too. Like with the older generation, it keeps in tune. It's awesome, but then there is the worry, and like we've seen it happen with Jess of like there isn't as many phone calls with text messaging out there, social media, because like with what we do, social media and our other business of selling clothing with LuLaRoe, everybody sees us all the time on social media. And Jess made this point when she was live. She's like, I haven't talked to my family on the phone forever because they're always on a live or they're always checking in or saying hi. They see my life. And then when she had a conversation with her brother, and she's like, you're right. It's weird. Whenever we're all hanging out, we just chit chat about we saw this and updates. We know, so, but she values that kind of like interaction. So I get it. So it's just exposing yourself to it, what's good, what's bad, fine-tuning it, and just mastering what's going to work for the family or the surroundings that you're in, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And it's interesting because that is the way the world's going. Now you have Instagram Story, and now you have Facebook Story. Now they have Instagram TV, IGTV. So like with the tech companies, I think they're doing a great job at adapting how we communicate with each other. You look at Instagram, you have Instagram Live, you have Instagram TV, you have your stories, right? Because I think what these companies are realizing is that the kids that were brought up in just that text world didn't have a lot of that face-to-face interaction, and now that they are hiring these people, right? They are seeing that there was a miss. There was a miss there between the phone call, and then all of a sudden we went from phone calling people to just texting. And texting became like the number one, and emailing became like the number one way of communication. So they're really trying to utilize that face-to-face interaction, whether it be delayed or not. Instagram, now you can do split screen, and you can do face-to-face interaction on your Instagram Live, which is awesome, because these kids are going to work for those companies. And they need people in their companies that are able to interact face-to-face. If they don't, they're not going to be successful companies.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how the schooling changes in the next 10 years. It wasn't you or someone was telling me how they're like, I think we were in Utah, we were talking to someone about their kids' schools taking away something out of the history. Like they're taking away World War II out of teaching or something, which I'm like, why? Because they don't think, just in regards to I don't know what they were taking out, but it just, in the next 10 years, what will be taken out and then reiterated. Like what we're talking about is like, will they teach just like on communication, on talking to each other, on having a good conversation. I mean, like that's going to benefit because all the technology we're going to be surrounded on is going to do a lot of the things for us. You're of course going to need how to work that, but the face-to-face communication between two people is going to be, whether it's done video, it's going to be super skill and important to have.
Yeah, and we're going to jump into that next episode. But before we end for today's episode, I just want to piggyback on that really quick. It kind of goes back to that whole sex ed thing that we talked about. How in some states they don't teach sex ed; they teach abstinence because they feel that if we don't talk about sex, people won't have sex. And I think that's so. Like you had mentioned last episode, we have such an access to everything right now. You can plug in anything and learn about anything in a moment's notice.
That's one that's for sure going to be gone. And if it's not, then you're just not adapting with the times because you can tell someone something and then they're surrounded by 98% of them, everybody else saying that's bullshit.
Right.
And
Yeah.
whether it's not whether it's your beliefs, I get it, but like I'm just saying that's what kids are going to go see.
Yep.
So get ready for that. And if you prepare for it, that's fine. If not, tough.
Tough shit, man.
Tough shit, man.
So just to end, on the flip side, you've got to be aware of what you're texting your kids because as soon as you text something, guess what? That's documented. So that's on their phone, and someone can see that.
I wish you could delete things. I don't know why. It must be a legality thing.
Well, you can delete text messages, but do you mean things on the internet?
No, like even through Facebook, how if I send something in a thread, I want to delete just that piece of the thread. Let's say, like I didn't mean to send that because what if it is a mistake?
Yeah, I agree. So back to the point of be careful of what you text to your kids because that can become public. And I mean, think about this: like maybe there's a friend of your child that you don't like, and that you send that in a text. I do not like you hanging out with that person. Well, what if that person happens to see that text message?
And they always kind of will. Like at some point they just will, or it will be said in a fiery match between the friends. Like, well, I don't like you, then guess what? My mom doesn't. Look at this.
Right.
Like you just.
Or on the flip side, maybe you say that to your kid and your kid gets pissed because they do like that person and they do see some value in this kid. Then they let that other kid know and then your kid starts to defy you because you're not on the same page as them.
Yeah.
Instead of having a conversation with them being like, yo, let's talk about this relationship you have with this person. This is what I'm seeing. Am I missing something? And then, because if you start to fire at your kid's friends, your kid's gonna have resentment. That'd be like my mom having firing at Molly. I would have resentment towards my mom because I love Molly. I love my mom, but at the end of the day, like that's not fair.
No.
Because you're not me.
Yeah, it's a toughie. It's a tough subject, and I guess whatever ever comes up, it's just overeducate, over-communicate. You can never over-communicate, I guess.
I agree.
That's the rule in everything that we do, from marriage to growing up a child to business. Just over-communicate. If you don't get your point across, reword it a different way. Make sure it came across. Make sure they got it, kid, adult, and then move on.
Right. So I think my biggest takeaway from this topic is don't shy away from the tools we have to communicate with your kid. Utilize every tool you have possible. And if one isn't working, try something else. And if that one doesn't work, then try something else. And if that doesn't work, then ask your kid, what's going to work? For us to communicate, what's going to work? What do you think?
I agree 100%. And just, it's not going to change. It's only going to get crazier and more technology world that we're going to live in. So adapt big time to it, and I'm just gonna throw my phone in the garbage and just not text, and I'll never have this problem.
Okay, next episode we're gonna dive into another realm of this, and that's kids and electronics, right? So, what is too much time with electronics?
That's an interesting one. I can't wait to talk about that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun because we all know our kids are using them, but how much are we allowing them to use them, and what is too much and what is not enough? So, episode number 18, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening. We love you. Hey, it's tough. We love you guys. Keep doing the work you're doing out there because it's amazing. My name is Brian Boyd.
And I'm the Zach Gittler. And we out.